Okay, so if you want, I'm just gonna grab a seat in the regular chair to begin with. Alright, so, and then, are you paying by card? Okay. Alright, so let's do that real quick. Give it. Is that iPhone? Okay. Well, I was going to say my phone actually does Apple Pay, but... Alright, so I can, yeah, I went through, so I can send you, as far as the receipt goes, I can handwrite a receipt, I can email, text you, whatever. If you don't want a receipt, you don't need one, so okay. And then this same email that you listed here, the one at Taya M. Arnold. Okay. So you should get receipt. Okay. All right. So again, Polygraph. It is again we're video recording everything. So, any questions on the opening paperwork I just gave you? The few pages here. Okay. So obviously you're doing this of your own free will since you're scheduled it. Looking at the question here at the bottom, or on the second page here. So slept relatively okay last night. No excessive drinking last night or anything. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. No major health issues currently you're going through that you're aware of, sick or anything. Current medication, so taking, I looked it up. Is that like anything else you're worried about today? I mean, we'll walk through what we're doing today, but yeah, we're going to walk through the whole process and explain it all. So, okay. Yeah, as far as medications go, as long as, man, I don't know what to, throat's dry. As long as people take it as prescribed, again, especially like mental health meds, as long as you've been on it for a little bit and your body's regulated, which sounds like it's been a long time. All right. So let me kind of walk through what we're doing today, polygraph testing. Do you know much about it at all, or have you ever done much research on it?
I've seen
Right. Okay. You know, movies are on shows like talk shows.
I saw Money Bag Will taking one like YouTube
Okay.
and I saw people taking on talk shows.
Okay. So basically what it looks like, obviously you don't see all the details that go into it, but and some of that stuff's a little showmanship, obviously. But what we know, so polygraph testing, it's a tool. People oftentimes call it lie detector tests, right? That's kind of, it's a tool people use to help establish if we think people are being truthful to information and questions that we're talking about. And it's information that person knows to be true. So, you know, obviously we think about police doing them sometimes on a suspect or a person of interest. You know, a crime happened or allegations occurred. The police may ask someone if they don't have enough evidence, but they have some suspicions, like, hey, are you willing to take a polygraph? Because again, that person knows if they were involved in some way or if they weren't. And what it's looking at is people's physical responses to things, and it's physical responses that are not seen with the naked eye. So again, there's body language experts, you know, a lot of detectives and stuff get pretty good at reading body language, but there's no way that that would like be definitive enough to like shape someone's life. So this kind of looks at stuff that again it's objective. It's not taking into account anything that you know we are guessing at. It's looking at things that are internal basically. So what happens, what we're going to do initially is kind of do our interview, as you and I are going to kind of walk through this whole stuff. I know it's not a big issue as far as real extensive, but we're going to kind of talk about the issue you're here for. Kind of just narrow down questions about what we're looking at testing, and then when we do the testing portion. So the test questions will all be yes and no questions. So, you know, I know we're not here for this, but if it was like a crime, like did you shoot him, are you the one who shot him, do you know who shot him? Yes or no, very direct questions. Usually you're going to answer no to the, I mean, that's why you're doing a polygraph, you're answering no to the questions. I'll have some other questions we go through as well. And then we put the equipment on you. So, like I said out there, there's two tubes. One just stretches across your upper chest, one across your stomach, just on top of your clothing. There's a blood pressure cuff that goes on one of your arms. A couple finger clips go on a couple fingers. They're just sitting on you and just kind of, like I said, just sitting on you. The cuff will be pumped up, but other than that, they're just sending me information. I'm just seeing lines go up and down. So again, whether you're probably young enough, I mean, we probably don't have a lot of heart stuff going on yet, but in TV shows we see heart monitors and things like that. We see lines going up and down. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So on the test portion, I'm just looking at when I ask you a question, you answer it, what kind of responses do I see that your body is giving off? So no one's dead. We're going to see lines going up and down no matter what and some responses. We will do the test several different times because we want to see consistency in responses. So we do the test several different times. After we've done several tests, again, I'm going to go back and look at it and just look over how are things responding. Are there any questions that are responding significantly more than others? Meaning, again, you know, like I said, you're not dead, so you're going to have minor responses on everything. But if I go through and I don't see any questions having real big responses compared to others, it's a little more complex than that, but that's kind of the basic idea. Then that's a good indication that more than likely someone's being truthful. Whatever I'm throwing at you, you're just not really responding. If, though, I go through and I see one or multiple questions have, you know, big responses, you know, every time I get to that question compared to the others, that's also usually an indication that more than likely someone knows they're withholding information, they're outright lying about something. That mental conflict of knowing the truth and then saying the opposite just seems to make our bodies give off some different signals. Again, because we know it's wrong, right? So we don't when we lie. So that's kind of what we'll look at. My goal, obviously, in a polygraph is to be thorough, make sure it puts you in a position to pass. If you're being truthful, obviously it's your job. If you want to pass, ideally to be truthful. I always say this a little bit on private tests. You know, I know you pay me, but payment doesn't guarantee a pass, right? So I've got to go off the charts. I should be able to give these charts to another examiner, and they will come up with the same conclusion.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Will I get the video results today?
I can, yeah, it'll take a second. What I typically do on videos is I send a link to it, and then you can save it on whatever platform you want, whether it's your phone or computer or. So yeah, so it takes a second for it to upload. I don't know why it's 2024, but it still takes forever. But does that work for you? Okay. But yeah, I should be able to shoot it over today. So that's kind of what we're doing today. So just again, I'm not here to judge anyone. We're just here to help, you know, hopefully present an accurate polygraph. You know, again, like your job, if you want to pass, be truthful. Again, if not, then you probably won't pass if you're lying. So The other thing is this, so I don't know if this is a fear of yours or not. A lot of people are worried about fear, like anxiety and all that stuff. So the way I present polygraph is a little bit I mean, it's not the exact same as this, but it's sort of like being pulled over by, or not pulled over, but when we drive a car and we zip by a police officer, especially if we didn't even see them, and we zip by and we're like, oh crap. Like usually we get a little bit kind of the oh crap thing. Am I speeding? Did I just cut someone off? So most people get a little shot of anxiety if you go by a police officer kind of unexpectedly, weren't ready for it. And where do most people look once they go by the officer? Where do most people probably look? Well, I mean, like at your speedometer probably, right? So if you zip by a police officer, we all look at our speedometer, make sure we're not speeding too much. Obviously, you do a mental check, like did I just cut someone off? So there's a little shot of anxiety for everyone, just like in polygraph. I mean, everyone's a little bit extra nervous for polygraph testing. But if you're doing everything right, you're not, in the car thing, you're not speeding, you didn't cut someone off, your dates are all correct on your tags. Yeah, you might still be a little nervous making sure he doesn't pull out after you, but you've done everything correct, so you shouldn't. And then contrast that with, let's say you go by a police officer and you were going like 15 or 20 over, or you happen to run into someone, you happen to just cut someone off. Would you say you probably are going to have a little more anxiety and more of a physical response, like yelling something or slamming on the brakes or something? If you did something wrong, are you probably going to have a bigger response? So that's kind of like polygraph. Like when you did something wrong, your body's going to give up a bigger response as compared to if you are telling the truth. Right? So everyone's nervous. So it's abnormal. Like we don't take your blood pressure. Like it's not a medical thing. Like your blood pressure might be a little higher today taking a polygraph. But we're looking at in the midst of the test are there big changes to those things. Are you going to go to bed or take a nap? What's going on? Anxiety sleeping? Okay, so just briefly, kind of a little bit about yourself. So, born in Suffolk, right? Is that where you grew up, or? Okay, so you graduated high school out there, or you got GED, and then did you go on and do some school?
Yes.
Was that after getting your GED?
Right after.
Okay. Did you get your GED basically same time as high school when you graduated?
Right after high school.
Okay.
I mean, right. The same year I was going to graduate.
Did you get kicked out, quit?
I quit because I got pregnant.
Crazy? Okay. All right. But still we're on track. I mean, you got your GED pretty much the same time you would have graduated. So how much school did you do?
I did like 2 semesters of college.
Okay. And then started working? What have you been doing for the most part as an adult? Major like trouble issues as far as incarcerations or legal issues or anything?
Actually,
okay.
I became a felon.
What was that for?
Possession of a gun. I've been being
okay. So you kind of have a manic episode or something? A depressive episode?
Yeah, I didn't know, because I had been buying guns for a long time legally. I went to a gun shop. I went to Bob's gun shop,
okay.
And I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to get one that time, but I was like I said, I've been going to gun shop and I had got committed to a hospital involuntarily, and I tried to get violent after that, and I didn't know.
So there's a red flag, yeah, so.
And they called the cops on me at the gun store.
Oh, at the store. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you actually got convicted, or you pled guilty or something?
I got convicted.
Okay. How long were you incarcerated?
I didn't get any time.
Okay.
And they just charged me with it on my record for life.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay. So you've been complying with that again, no major incarceration. I mean, yes, it's a felony, but they didn't end up. Yeah. It was, and it was based on.
Now, what happened incarcerated was
okay. I mean, that's criminal, but it's not. But not criminal.
But I've never spent time.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, So let's talk a little bit. And I don't mean to go in this way too much, but let's talk about where you are mentally, because I want to make sure that we do polygraph testing again. I know I'm relying on you for everything, so we do want to make sure when we're doing the polygraph test that again it's someone's in the right state of mind and all that stuff. I know taking meds and all that, which is fine because a lot of people, you know. So do you feel like today, like you're in a good place? I mean, you've been consistently in a good place and all that stuff. I don't mean to drag up your old stuff. Okay.
I've been putting this on for a long time. I wanted to do this for a couple of years now.
Okay. So let's go into that. What exactly? And we talked a little bit over the phone about stuff, but so tell me kind of what exactly are the issues like we're talking about today, and what you really are trying to, I guess, confirm.
I've never worn black or red nail polish ever. I've never had face piercing on my face. I'm being accused of having facial piercing, nail polish. I'm accused of sleeping with women. I'm accused of having all types of stuff. Like, I'm being accused of stuff that's different.
So who are these people generically? I guess like who are these people that are accusing you of stuff?
Bullies, mainly women, family members, just bullies in general. And it's making my life hard because people don't want to deal with me because they believe in running around doing the stuff that I didn't do. People are also accusing me of lying about being beat up too. I've been beat up by multiple men, and they're saying that I'm telling a lie, and that's not, I'm not telling a lie. I really do.
Yeah. So okay. So and we talked about this over the phone. So the point of in polygraph testing, we can't just test everything. Like it's a lot of people wish we could. I'm not saying you do, but there's a lot. Everyone has stuff in their life, and they wish they could come in here and ask like, I want you to ask me 100 questions, and I'll pass all 100 questions. It really is meant to be like a specific thing, focus on a main issue. Like I said, when there's a crime, they're going to focus on, did you steal from that store yesterday? Even though they probably would like to know, honestly, did they have a previous history of stealing from things? But on that polygraph, they're going to really focus on the theft yesterday. Because when you mix different things together, it can create inaccurate and even inconclusive results. So and I know there's a bunch of different stuff. So, and we talked about, I think, over the phone, we're going to try to really focus on the main issue today, I think, right? So, well, let me go back to these people. Are the family members a lot of, some of the people that, and I think you said, are accusing you of different stuff and throwing things at you and not believing you and stuff, or? Why do you think that they, and people say stuff against other people as well, but is there a specific reason you think they're kind of picking on you or bullying you? I don't know your background, obviously, so I don't. Okay. But it isn't coming up with stuff like piercings and stuff. Like, who cares? I mean, what do you?
So, like if somebody was to go tell somebody else,
right.
Women might start looking at me funny, or some if a woman says that I touched them, people might start looking at me funny.
Okay.
Because they believe that it's not true.
Right. Okay.
Or they might start calling me pedo or something like that. That's not true. I've never done that.
Okay, but you don't, I mean, there's no specific reason why you think people are doing this? I mean, I'm not trying to, like...
I cannot think of anything.
Okay.
It's hard for me to get a job. I've tried running away several times and moving to another city. I've even tried going to LA, California, and I couldn't have because people were still doing it. So, I was thinking maybe if I take even through, like, some of the main stuff up, they might leave me alone.
Okay. Yeah, polygraph, again, it doesn't, hopefully it helps, right? It's not going to be a cure-all, and it's not going to, not everyone's going to obviously take the test and be like, hey, but hopefully it does help a little bit. So, okay, well, let's talk about, so there's, I mean, you feel like a lot of people have been mistreating you or saying inaccurate things about you. And I know we spoke on the phone about one of the primary issues is the, I guess, concept of being a lesbian. And I told you a little bit, so we don't really just test, we don't like testing that stuff, and it's not that we don't like it, it can be like a mental state. Like if you say, do you like women? I mean, yeah, but it's hard to test that because we want to test an actual behavior that definitively did or didn't happen, right? So, you know, we don't test people and say...
And one time I believed that I was drugged. I believed that I was drugged, right? But, one time I was accused of, like, giving oral to a female.
Okay.
I don't remember doing it.
Okay.
And I don't want to be accused of something like that, feeling like that.
Okay.
And I was accused of this in 2017.
Okay.
And people still do it.
All right. Well, so yeah. So let's talk about sexual contact with females because that's really good. I think we're going to focus on today. That's the primary. Okay. So, and you're how old right now?
36.
36. Do we want to cover? I could say ever. I mean, I could say after as an adult. I mean, when we say these questions, do we want to say have you ever? You know. Okay. All right. So let's talk about any time that you know. Let's first, before we clarify kind of what you just explained, kind of that situation. Let's talk about any time that you know that you intentionally remember doing something sexual with a woman, right? So. Is there any time that you can actually remember and that you absolutely know that you, we'll start basic, like made out with, kissed on the lips, like tongued any female? Is there any time that you can recall that you ever, again, I guess, obviously, like, put your mouth on a woman's vagina?
Not intentionally, no.
Okay, so let's say intentionally first.
No.
Well, I might say intentionally. If you were drunk or blacked out, I guess technically it's intentional, but it's not when you were in the race. So is there any time that you intentionally, in a sober state of mind, you know, because you desired it, wanted, like, provided oral sex, putting your mouth on a female, or asked a female to put their mouth on you?
No.
Is there any time that you rubbed your genitals against the female's genitals or anything like that?
But the part about, like I said, I was accused of that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Is there any time that you, again, rubbed your fingers and hands against a vagina or anything like that? Anytime that you know, cupped breasts, rubbed and caressed. And I want to say for sexual pleasure aroused. I'm not saying women are different. I don't know if you've ever felt someone like after a boob job or I don't know. Anytime that you know you intentionally rubbed against, felt, and caressed for pleasure. Fondling the buttocks, rubbed it on top or under the clothes, again, caressing, anything like that. Anytime you ask a female to touch you, again, fondle you, cup you, rub your butt, anything like that. Never requested or had someone rub you. Any time that you, outside of physical, like asked a female out, like said, I'd like to hook up with you, like you can recall, like is there any time that you pursued, even if you didn't do something, but you sought it out and pursued a female for sexual contact?
For sexual contact.
Does that make sense? So that would be, like I said, asking if someone wants to do something with you, or anytime that you engaged in overt sexual communication. I don't mean dialogue with a female friend about, your life with a male or something, but you and another female dialogue back and forth, text back and forth, send each other nude images, that you were communicated in a sexual manner with another female.
Somebody called me for sexual. A female had called me for sexual.
Yeah.
When I was in California, but I didn't call them.
Okay. So if I said, I probably use the word like, did you ever engage in sexual communication with a female? To that you would say. So to engage is that you are now participating, right?
Well, like I said, a woman did call her phone in California and asked me when I was out there. I was engaged.
Did you meet
I
her?
didn't even meet her.
How did you know this woman, or where did she come from?
Well, I was working at a strip club and working at a sport.
Okay.
And she called me.
Okay. All right. So when I say engage,
And I wasn't gay. I didn't put any ad up there saying
Yeah.
I want men and women.
she just saw you and found.
But she still called.
So when I
She
say,
was asking for sexual pleasure.
so if I say, have you ever engaged in sexual communication? That means that you actively participated. So
I did talk to her. I didn't just hang up the phone as soon as she called. But I didn't do anything.
So what did you, was it, I'm not saying this was a bad thing, so, because I want to make sure we clear it so it doesn't mess you up on the test. Did you somewhat entertain it, like think about it when she brought it up? Okay, so like, what was the conversation? I mean, I don't mean to get too picky here, but I want to make sure we clear it. What kind of was your engagement in the conversation?
Someone was like, I want to see you. And I had no intention of messing with her, but I had a man with me.
Okay.
And I thought that he wanted to see her. So I told her to come over so she would see him. And she never came. But the woman wasn't for me.
But she did express when she reached out to you, it was for you. She was,
She was trying to holler at me, but I was trying to pass her on to her. And she didn't believe that.
all right, I do want to ask this. So fill me in on your background. Just so I get the setting here. So you've been an escort?
Yes, and I've never messed with a woman before.
Okay, and you've been a dancer and stuff
Correct.
at like female clubs, strip clubs that are geared toward men.
Correct.
Okay.
I've never been to a gay pride. Never been to
Okay. So that's, I'm assuming you already know, so I'm throwing it out there. So that's obviously a little bit of the stuff that plays into people like saying stuff about you, I'm guessing, right? It's just your,
Correct.
I guess, provocative or sexual background.
Correct.
Okay. But in all of that though, again, not knowingly with any females that you're aware of.
Correct. No,
And didn't pursue those things.
never pursued.
When I said sexual communication, that female in California who I guess saw you at a club or something, was able to get your contact information, reached out to you, she expressed some interest in you. I think you're not denying it kind of maybe didn't pique your interest and you kind of thought about it, but nothing acted on it, didn't like pursue that, she actually didn't ever come over, you didn't like keep in contact with her. Okay, and even on the phone, did you get somewhat sexual with her at all? Okay, so she expressed stuff, but, okay. So other than kind of that situation, any other time that you engaged in, which again is you participate, you can't help if a person who hollers at you or...
I've been in the room. I've had sex with men around me.
Okay.
Like, they wanted a threesome, but I didn't engage with anything with the woman. But
Yep.
the woman was naked in the room.
So you've been involved in like multi person experiences.
Right, but I
But
never
you were
had
acting.
any physical contact.
It was for the male. He was doing both of you.
Correct,
No, it's kind of crass, isn't it?
correct.
But you, in any of those, again, I'm not, because I want to make sure we can pass, I don't want the stuff running through your head that you're sitting here. In any of those events, were there any times where the male did ask you, hey, can you touch your rub, like your bodies are close, like if there's I guess an intimate setting like that, is there a time that you do recall that you did, on request, like act out with a female at all or anything? Okay.
The men didn't ask me to.
So it really was, they wanted their jollies with both people, but they didn't have you act
Mess
out.
with them, no.
Okay.
And I've been accused of having messing with the women that were there, and I didn't. The
Okay.
men slept with me and the other first female.
Yeah.
But I didn't engage with the second female.
Okay. And touching and bonding, making all that stuff. I'm not saying something didn't actually touch, like if you're close quarters, but it was no intentional effort to like
Right,
be sexual.
right.
Okay.
I didn't even touch them.
Okay. Any time that you ever engaged in, even if it wasn't overtly sexual, in like an emotionally, in like an emotional dating relationship with a female of anything like that, does that make sense? Like having a girlfriend or even kind of acting like you had a girlfriend or anything like that?
No.
When I say girlfriend, I don't mean like a friend, you know what I'm talking about, like a,
Not a
like
homegirl, but actually.
like a boyfriend, yeah. Okay. And all of these, just so you know, this is not, did anything ever run through your mind? This is not, did you ever think about something? That's why we don't ask, like, oh, you're a lesbian, because, I mean, even if you had a fleeting thought one time, that can mess you up on a test, because you could be thinking, well, wait a sec, I entertained her once.
I have danced, I did dance for a female.
Okay.
When I was
Yeah, this kind of
but there was no, I didn't sleep.
bodily contact and stuff.
I can't remember, but I was dancing. I didn't sit on the lap with you. I was like dancing.
And that's what I'm saying is, so that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a lesbian, right? As a dancer, you're up dancing for whoever.
Correct.
If someone throws you money or does whatever.
And that was only one time.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of women have seen me dance.
Right.
But that was like a one-on-one.
Not specific. So it was actually like was it like a private dance or just, I don't know how the club was
It
set
was
up.
open. She was like sitting in a chair, and I was like standing right in front of her. Kind of like, as soon as set it off, and, but the girl was dancing in front of the people.
Okay. So it's actually not in a private room or anything.
No, it was in front of
Okay, but it was specifically for that female. But again, this is, if you're in a club dancing, you're just pleasing whoever's there, right? An old 90-year-old
But I
man.
didn't exchange numbers with
Yeah. So whether it's a 90-year-old man or a 22,
smacking my ass.
like no overt physical touching and things like that. Okay. So maybe some intimate dancing or dancing for her specifically because she was the one reaching out. And again, you can't help if she is aroused by that. You can't help if she is a lesbian, right? But you were just doing your job. And again, so this goes back to, I'm not saying, even in that moment, did something spark in your mind? That's why we don't say, are you a lesbian? Because if you even had a weird thought or a random thought about something, that doesn't make you a lesbian. Does that make sense? So, okay. Any other scenarios that you can recall? Well, let me ask you this. So the adult lifestyle that you've lived in the past, when I say adult, I mean sexual lifestyle, dancing, all that stuff. So when did that start?
I started dancing when I was in 2007.
So you were...
And I didn't stop until, well, I stopped in 2020.
So you started this when you were how old about?
I was like 18.
Was that here in Virginia then, or that was you had moved already?
No.
Okay.
And I officially quit 2020. The last place I went to was California.
Okay. All right. Okay. As well as when you say being an escort, what is that? And again, this is not to get you in trouble or anything. So when you say being an escort, is that even in Virginia? I mean, wherever you've lived, have you always kind of done some of that stuff? Okay. What was the last time you actually?
2021.
Okay. For you? Okay. Is this like personal ad stuff, or is this like you like have a quote unquote pimpish kind of person? Yeah. Okay. So you joined like a group. Okay. And that's been here in Norfolk as well as obviously California, other places, whether it's legal or not. I mean, okay.
Only place I went to and never went in was Chicago. I didn't have any sexual contact with anyone in Chicago.
Okay. What's in Chicago?
I stayed there for about 2 or 3 months.
Oh, were you have friends up there or something? Or?
No, I just wanted to see how Chicago.
Okay. Okay. All right. So amidst all of this, again, yes, females may have been watching things like that. There was the one specific time you can actually recall specifically having a private dance. Not when I say private, an individual dance for someone. She's not fondling you. I mean, probably wasn't allowed to anyways, but you know, not, maybe up close. Is there when you say dance in front? I guess clubs are different. I've never been in one actually, but are they typically no bodily contact?
There's typically no body contact or something.
Right.
A lot of people do.
And specifically at this one with the female, she's not rubbing up on you.
I don't recall her doing that.
And even if she did, you were not inviting it. You were not doing it as in a sense of like doing it for your own gratification. Okay.
I knew I wasn't supposed to, but
Yeah. Okay.
that wasn't, not my.
Okay. So okay. So you consciously wanting to do it, engaging in it, sexual activity with a female. No real memory of doing that. We'll get to the other issue. Again, this one female called you. You briefly thought about it, but nothing progressed. Didn't actually engage in sexual contact with her in California. She never even came over. You've been involved in threesomes.
I've also been accused of being transgender.
Okay.
And,
Like dressing as a male? Okay. Okay.
And I've been accused of being I've never worn a beard. I have worn unisex clothes.
Yeah.
But I've never had a beard on my facial
Like
identified as a male. I've always
tried to look as a male.
Right, I've never tried that. I've always identified as a female.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So again, basically in all your, even though you, I mean, you know this. I mean, your lifestyle opens the door for a lot of this stuff, right? So as far as amidst your lifestyle, all the sexual activity you've been involved with, obviously as an escort, as a dancer, things of that nature, even with threesomes, I don't know, foursome, fivesome, orgies, whatever it is. Even in all of that stuff, there was no intentional effort to touch women, engage with women, be active with women. Even when there was multiple things, there was the guy wanting multiple women, not having you touch women and them watching you or anything like that. Does that make sense? All right, so you on your own have never been someone who's openly sought out to engage in that stuff. So tell me about the scenarios where you said you potentially did, or someone made you, like, you know, I think you said potentially when you were drugged or raped or something. Like, what are you explaining about that stuff?
Well, one club that I worked at, I was accused of going on a girl, and I don't remember.
Where was that?
That was in the That's when.
So what do you mean accused of? Who accused you of it?
Her.
An actual, not client,
That was in there.
but an actual person who worked there, or another person that attended?
A girl that supposedly worked there.
And she said you went out on her, or that she witnessed you?
I went there. She said I went
Ballpark when?
2017.
And this was a co-worker?
Yes.
Dancer?
Yes, inside of the club. Never been anywhere
So let me ask, so,
I was accused of doing that in the dressing room.
in the dressing room? So on that scenario, was it just a one-time accusation, or, so do you remember that happening at all? I mean, even if it was a one-time thing you experimented, I would say this, I'm not saying you should admit to anything. Even experimenting one time doesn't mean you're a lesbian. It doesn't mean that you like women. Like, people have experimented before, and
I don't recall it.
were you on drugs or doing drugs and stuff? What were you doing?
I was on hard. I've been sober since 2020.
Okay. What's hard drugs mean?
Okay.
Anything else? Not math or anything, not doing math. So cocaine, no heroin or anything, or mushrooms, or hallucinogens or anything like that?
No, cocaine.
Okay. Were you like an addict? So like daily? What did cocaine make you like? Were the times that I'm not a drug guy, so I don't know. Did cocaine make you be in another world, pretty much? Meaning, like,
It makes me feel like I stopped caring about life. I stopped caring about my future. I stopped caring about the gym.
well, were there scenarios that were there situations that you know when you were in your drug usage and heavy usage that something happened and you were told about it later and you had no idea, you didn't even remember those things?
That's
Like,
what happened in that school.
even outside of this, are there other scenarios, not necessarily sexual, but it's just anything? Are there other scenarios that you know you just don't have memory of stuff because of the drugs and things of that nature?
No, that's the only thing. I remember everything.
Okay, so even if this happened, let's not deny it happened, let's just say it did happen. Even if it happened, no memory that you open, like on your own, again, and you may have done it, you may have sought it out, you may have approached her, you may have gone down, like, but the way you're explaining it, are you being truthful and accurate about that? And the fact that there's no history of doing this, if somehow it happened and you did end up doing it, it's not that you were wanting stuff, you were in an altered state of mind, I guess, potentially. But this is not something you even fully remember, and no other history of doing this sort of stuff. So would you say you don't necessarily deny that it could have happened?
It could have happened, but I don't remember.
Okay. But no real memory that it happened, and it's, again, not something you've ever sought out.
Right.
So if it did happen, it was completely abnormal. Okay. And that was back in, again, 2017, 2018. Anyone else, do you recall any other major accusations? Not that people have called you stuff, but that they really made a distinct accusation like this? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to worry about that stuff. I mean, you've got parents. They can quash that right away and say. Okay. Well, so, transgender stuff, I guess, you can approach that, but all you have to do is have a note from your mom that says she was born a female, she's always been a female. Does that make sense? Like, I mean, people might say that about you and stuff, but, I mean, you can easily show that you've always been a woman, Well, I mean, your mom could say, I gave birth to a woman. Or not woman, I mean female, sorry. Yeah. And the other thing is, too, I mean, you can take a polygraph to them, and, again, they could say, you think you're something else. So that, I mean.
People think I'm like
yeah, so that's what I really want to focus on is really, are you. Yeah. And again, the transgender thing, I mean, I guess there's other ways, there's things that they can think what they want, and you could easily share that I mean,
And some people think I'm a man being a woman, or I'm a transgender woman. Some people think I'm a woman, I'm a female that's trying to be a man.
trying to be a man.
And some people think that I'm born male trying to be a female.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too into that, but being a female becoming a man, I mean, physically, you can clearly show them you're not becoming a man if you really wanted to. And the other way around, I mean, the other idea is, I mean, I guess you could dress as a male, but physically, you could always show that you're not a man. I mean, and then biologically, I mean, like I said, people are going to say what they want. So, but let's clear up the stuff that we know that you never did. So, okay. And that's the biggest thing that's playing into all of it is this whole idea, like, do you like women? Even if you were transgender, that would partly be the idea that you would want to be, for some people it's because you want to be with women. Does that make sense? So, let's focus on that, is have you ever actually acted out with a female, pursued a female, been sexual with females, outside of any of this incidental stuff, like they'll dance in front of one, but that's professionally, or, like I said, and we'll probably have to clarify it all and kind of say, other than what you have explained, because if this indeed did happen in Newport News, the explanation is that I don't even remember doing it, I did not, even if it happened, like I was definitely not in my normal state of mind, and so, but
They don't say that I was. They don't say, you really should.
Yeah, and I mean that again, there's no way that we can combat that. I mean, because I can't, like, if you weren't in your right state of mind, then you weren't, and there's no way that then you don't even remember that. So that. The other way I could say is, do you not honestly, like, I'll be honest, like, do you not even if you were in your altered state of mind and high on drugs, do you actually not remember doing it?
No, I don't.
Because I can also say, do you remember ever putting your mouth on a woman's vagina?
No, I don't.
And that would include whether it's even this scenario or any other scenario. Again, we're not denying that you didn't do it, but you have no memory of doing it. So it's like if someone was blackout drunk, same thing. Someone might say, man, you should have seen what you did last night. And I say, do you remember doing it last night? And they say, I have no memory of it. I don't deny, maybe I did it, but I do not remember doing it or doing it at any other time. So that might be the approach we go with. If you can actually say, you absolutely don't remember doing that, because you were potentially...
And as far as kissing in the mouth and stuff like that, I know I didn't do that.
Okay.
And like, drugs in general, I know that for a fact.
Okay. I still might use the
You don't
word...
even have to say remember.
Yeah, I still might use the word remember, just so that everyone understands, like...
But I know I didn't do that, for sure. As far as the oral part, I would say remember, but as far as kissing or...
But even though this scenario, even though this scenario, they said you went down with a female. I mean, if you went down with someone, there potentially was some other touching. I don't mean kissing and making out, but I mean there potentially was other touching. Like you may have grabbed the breast and grabbed the butt. I mean, I don't know what fondled her. I don't know what they're, what. So that's why I still might say remember to all of this is that I don't want you sitting in. I don't know what's going to go through your mind. I don't want you sitting in that chair. If you're being honest, having struggles passing the test because you're sitting there going.
That's the only part that I might have a struggle with, is the part with the accusation of the
Yeah.
club. But the other part, I know for a fact.
And then I can also do a broad question: is are you intentionally lying about your denials of sexual activities with females? That's kind of the broad one that covers all of that stuff. Whether you remember it or not, the way you explain it to me, it's going to be: are you intentionally falsifying information about any potential sexual contact with a female? And that kind of covers it. I mean, I could almost just ask that, but I'm going to be more specific in some of the questions. Okay, so we know you have a very sexual background. Sexual background as dancer, escort. I mean, they were just not a good situation. You put yourself in, and I'm not blaming you, but I guess I am. You were in situations that opened the door for obviously some.
Yeah, I didn't know any better.
unhealthy behaviors, and obviously you were in a circle of people that are unhealthy, probably not the greatest crowd, obviously always around you. So, a lot of different stuff, bad stuff going on.
People were making accusations all along. And I didn't even know.
Well, let me ask you this about, we're not going to go into assault and rape and all that stuff. I mean, if you were in that lifestyle, there's a likelihood that obviously you were mistreated. Any other scenarios other than the 2017-18 time, any other scenarios that you overtly, someone directly accused you of activities with females, or this is really the big main?
Like I said, they did accuse me when I was when I had the
Threesome?
Yeah, I wasn't engaging in sex
Okay.
with a woman.
But the woman did,
But people did accuse me of sleeping with a woman.
like people who knew you were involved in some of that stuff. Okay.
They knew that I was there at the house with
Okay.
the woman and the man.
Okay. But to your knowledge, the woman never backed them up on that. I mean, it may be somebody you don't even know. So, okay. All right. So is everything you presented to me, this whole concept that you have never, again, not only have you never been attracted to a woman, but even outside of that, you have never engaged in pursued, sought out sexual activities with females.
No.
Okay.
I have seen watched porn.
Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about. That's why I don't want to say, are you a lesbian? Are you ever? And that's what we don't want to do. Like, it's just going to mess everything up. But the actual activities of seeking it out, viewing it, or not viewing it, seeking it out, engaging in sexual touching on purpose, no actual memory, even amidst all of the sexual activities you've been engaged in, you are not someone who has sought out to engage in sexual contact with women. It has always been men. We've got a few scenarios like at the club in Florida with a female had you do it, but it was at your job. It was a visual thing. Again, even this scenario, you do not remember doing it. Not that you're denying it, but if you did it, it was completely, you're in a different state of mind for whether it's drugs, a combination of drugs, alcohol, I don't know. But even if you did it, it was not because you like it, desired it, and you actually don't have memory of doing that.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So that I think our questions are going to be, again, I'll do a broad one of basically, are you intentionally lying about having sexual interaction with females, like the manner in which you discuss sexual interaction with females? That would kind of be a broad question. And then, but I can definitely, again, ask, not other than, but, I'm not going to pinpoint all these little touching things, but, have you ever made out with a woman? I mean, that's probably, if someone's a lesbian, they would have made out with women. So, do you remember ever making out with a female? And you would say,
No.
do you remember ever fondling or being fondled by a female?
No.
So, and I'll explain fondling is the sex organs, which are the penis, breast, vagina, buttocks, all kind of those are the four main sex organs. And fondling is like excessive caressing, purposeful rubbing, touching, obviously finger penetration, rubbing, like that's fondling, right? So no fondling or being fondled intentionally by a female. Because we only have 4 focus questions. And then the other one, I guess, would be the focus on the vagina, right? So have you intentionally, I could say mouth, I guess. I could say that. So, do you remember ever intentionally, on some level, again, do you remember putting your mouth on a woman's vagina?
No.
This is the biggest part. I just want to make sure that doesn't mess this up. The other way I can ask it is in a clear-minded, when you were in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever putting your mouth on a woman's vagina? Does that make sense?
No.
So that means, yeah. So when you were in a clear state of mind, did you ever engage in oral sex with a woman? And that covers offering and receiving. Does that make sense? So I want to use, that might get, so if I say clear state of mind, that is like you remember, you know you did it, like that covers this, right? So if you did it, you were not in your clear state of mind, you don't even remember it. But in a clear state of mind, do you remember, or did you ever engage in oral sex with a woman, whether offer or receive it? Into that. So those are, because making out is going to be a big one, because that's, some of the lesbians are going to make out at some point, kiss on the lips. So no making out, no fondling, or being fondled, and no oral sex or engaging in oral sex in a clear state of mind when you were sober. And when I say clear state of mind, I'll define in the report. Huh?
No genital touching.
Well, I think I would say fondling on some level. Well, yeah. So if I don't say oral sex, maybe I'll change it to be, maybe I won't use those, in a clear state of mind, did you ever engage in touching or being touched on the vagina? That's oral sex, that's fingering, that's the rubbing on top of, right? So I know that lesbians, that's probably their way of doing stuff sometimes. So maybe I won't say oral sex, I could say, have you, engaged in the touching or being touched of the vagina? Into that you would say. Okay. So I think maybe that's the way we focus on it, is in a clear state of mind, because that's the only thing you can really remember. Like in a criminal polygraph, honestly, if someone was, if their claim is like, oh, man, I don't know, I was so drunk and toasted last, when someone said I did that, like I have no idea if I did it. That's probably the route that we would take, even the police would take, is they would probably say, in a clear state of mind, did you do any of that stuff? Because a lot of people will say, I was so drunk, I may have done it. I can't help it.
But I know I didn't kiss him. I know I didn't rub any genitals with him, and I know I didn't find him.
Okay.
I know that can happen. And I know I never used sex toy or strap on.
Acting as a male or transgender or anything like that. So that can be so again, and that all goes with, like obviously if you use a sex toy or something, you'd be touching and fondling other parts as well, like even your hands, so I think that's what we do, right? So, ever made out with a female? I can't even just say kiss, right? So kiss on the lips, because that means light kissing or heavy kissing. Ever kiss on the lips with a female? And obviously we're not talking about as a kid kissing your mom or something like that, right? So when we say sexual kissing, or when I say kissing, we're talking about a sexual matter. So never kiss on the lips, never engaged in the intentional fondling or being touched, or touching or being touched on the sex organs, which are the penis, breast, vagina, buttocks. I'll define that. Never engaged in the intentional touching, never being touched on the vagina, right? So that's you receiving or someone else. That includes hands or mouth. And then in general, the broad question of, are you intentionally lying today? Are you falsifying today? Whatever. Your denial, like sexually acting out with women. And that's a catch-all. That honestly is everything. But we also have those specifics. Does that work pretty good? Okay. Again, basically, we can only clear up what you know to remember and what everyone else can make their own assumptions about whatever, but at least this would be kind of that you are not lying about, amidst all of your sexual activities, it was male-oriented. I mean, that's what, okay. So let me ask you this, we're going to have some other questions on the test outside of these. I want to do what we call a directed live polygraph. So I'm going to give you some questions. I'm going to tell you I want you to lie on purpose. So on these questions, they're demonstrating to me and showing me if you do lie, this is basically what it looks like. So I can gauge that against these. So these are not meant to get you in trouble. They're just meant to establish a lie. So if I were to ask you this question, if I said, did you ever lie to or intentionally withhold something from like an authority figure? Again, authority figure is anyone in charge of you. It could be obviously police, judge, attorney, a boss, a supervisor, like anyone in a position over you. As an adult, is there any time that you lie to or withheld something from an authority figure for fear of getting in trouble? The truth would be what? Because everyone has, right? So we know at least, and you don't have to tell me what it is. Like I don't know if you're. lied all the time or just once, but whether it's once or 1,000 times, when as long as you did it once. So when I say, did you ever lie to or withhold something from an authority figure to avoid getting in trouble? We know the truth is yes. You're going to lie and say no. Okay? Another question. We know whether it's anything we discussed or something else. If I said, did you ever do something illegal and get away with it? What's the truth? You're not getting in trouble. Okay, so we know at least once you did something illegal. It could have been something big, small. You could kill someone. I don't really care. I mean, I do care, but when I say, have you ever done something illegal and gotten away with it? We know the truth is yes. You're going to lie and say no. I might even say...
Are those responsible being recorded?
Huh?
Are those responsible being recorded?
I mean, I record them. Yeah, I mean, I have them. What do you mean?
Are they going to be used for anything?
No, they're for me in my charts. Like, when you lie, I'm giving you questions I want you to lie to on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
These are questions everyone has done at some point in time. They're just meant to establish what we call a response. So that I know when you lie, these are the kind of responses you give off. And then I look at the actual questions about the sexual contact with females. And those responses, if you're telling the truth on the female questions should have smaller responses compared to what we call these directed lies. Because I'm telling you, you are lying. I'm having your lie responses. Now, if your responses to the female questions are bigger than those directed lies, that's going to be a good indication that someone's lying. Because this is the more important information. If you're telling the truth, you shouldn't have a big response. But if you're all lying to these responses are probably going to be bigger than the directed lies. So, this is not meant, I know it's on video and all that stuff, but this is not meant to get you in trouble. I mean, everyone's done this. I mean, 100% of the world has lied to an authority figure at some point. Everyone's done something illegal, got away with it, right? So, I might even say excluding sexual things. If I said excluding sexual things, have you done something illegal and gotten away with it? Yes? Okay, because everyone has. And then another thing I would say, if I said, have you ever lied to or withheld something from friends or family members to avoid looking bad or due to shame or embarrassment, what would you say to that?
No.
What's the truth?
I don't think I've ever lied to them.
You've never lied to a friend or family member about anything? Or withheld your lifestyle, or withheld information?
I've never
No one? Okay. What if I said, what if I said this? Have you ever, the idea of misrepresenting yourself, which is kind of like, it means to like trying to make yourself look better in front of others, whether it's the way you describe yourself or make yourself look, or just kind of say stuff, just to make yourself look better so that people don't judge you or for it. I mean, if I were to say, have you ever misrepresented yourself to someone, for fear of how you might look or to try to look better, what would you say to that?
I don't think I've done that either. I might have withheld information.
Yeah.
But I've never flat out lied.
Well, so let's go back to the friends and family
I
thing.
might not say something
Yeah.
that I've done.
Let's go back to friends and family. If I say again, have you ever lied to or withheld personal information from someone?
I have withheld.
Yeah, because a withholding is what we call it, a lie of omission. It's still technically a type of lie, but so let's go back to that. So if I say, did you ever lie to or intentionally withhold something from a friend or family member, the truth to that would be what?
Yes.
Because you definitely have withheld something. But on the test, you'll lie and say no.
Okay.
So the three directed lies will be, have you ever lied to or withheld something from any sort of authority figure to avoid consequences? We know the truth is yes, but you're going to lie and say no. Have you ever lied to or withheld something from friends or family members? Again, you're going to lie and say no. And then have you ever done something illegal, gotten away with it? Yes, but you're going to lie and say no. So those are directed lies. You lie to those, but then anything regarding the sexual contact with females, in a right state of mind, intentionally, because you wanted to those you're going to be truthful. So if you never engaged in kissing a woman, never engaged in in a sober state of mind, never engaged in touching or being touched on the vagina, in a sober state of mind, never engaged in,
Do the questions, do they lie, the questions lie have to be dealing with criminal?
well, no, don't worry about those. It's your answer, which is no, so you're lying. So it doesn't have to, it can be any type of illegal activity. What do you mean? Are you worried that's going to look like?
I'm just worried about it, like,
Yeah, we're not trying to get information from you. I'm not trying to, like, all I want to establish is you've done something illegal and you got away with it, and you're going to lie and say no. That's it. We don't need any information. You know, we know you've lied to an authority figure about something at some point. I don't care what it is. I just want you to lie and say no. And again, we know you've lied to a friend or family at some point, or withheld something, and you're going to lie and say no. I don't care what it is, but this is just for the mere fact of trying to establish what a lie looks like. I could call your mom in here, and I could get her to say that same stuff. She's done something illegal at least once and gotten away with it. We could figure something out. She's probably lied to an authority figure at least once about something, or withheld something. And she's probably lied to a friend or family member at least once about something. So you're not abnormal in that fact. Like, everyone's done these things. Now, illegal could be anything, but I don't really care what it is. I just need to know you've done something illegal. Does that make sense? So are you worried about this is going to make you look bad or something? No. Because everyone's done all of these things. Now, it doesn't mean everyone's done the same things, like something could be major or lesser, but we're not trying to here to test that stuff. We're just here testing, trying to get a lie out of you. So we know what it looks like when you lie, so I can compare that to the actual questions about sexual contacts. And to those, you're going to be truthful. You need to be truthful to these in order to pass the test. You need to definitely be truthful about any intentional contact with.
and the questions that I would lie on, but you don't want to really, like, after the test.
What are you worried about? What do you mean thrown away?
The questions where you have to, where I have to lie on purpose, are those going to be
Like in the report and stuff?
Yeah.
No, the report is about this.
Those are not going to
This is merely for, the other questions are merely for me and my charts to show what it looks like when you lie. In the report, all we care about is this stuff.
Okay, and they're not going to do the report, the other questions?
No.
Okay.
No, because that's what we're testing is this stuff, the sexual contact with females. That's what's in the report.
Okay.
The lie questions are merely for me on my testing to establish what it looks like when you lie.
Okay.
All right? Yeah, so we don't put those control comparison questions, we don't put those in the report.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If you sat here and told me, yeah, I've done something illegal, I mean, one time I beat up someone and I got away with it. Okay, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to tell me that, but that doesn't go in the report. That's just for me to make lies on my test.
Okay.
All right? Okay. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to have you just relax out there for a few minutes. I'm going to type up the questions. We'll kind of go back through stuff, make sure we're good with everything, and then we'll start the testing process. I'll use the restroom as well. So. All right, you ready? So why don't you put everything there on the chair? Yeah, you warm up, take your jacket off?
Can I just flip up my sleeves?
It's actually probably better with your sleeves down so they're not all bunched. Or it's just a little bulky. Do you feel comfortable with the jacket off or are you cold? Yeah,
I mean, I don't mind.
it's not that, it's kind of bulky on the front area, putting all the tubes across your stomach and chest. That's the biggest issue. My heater's broken. It went out the other day. That's the biggest concern, is just being able to have a good, clear recordings without the jacket. It's just because you're cold? Well, I'll put it on top of you. We'll kind of see if it's clear. And then if we need to, we're going to have to just suck it up. All right. So before we do the actual test, we're going to do basically a practice test that lets you feel and experience the polygraph. Before we get going, let me actually do settings and everything correct before we do the actual test. So I'm going to give you this piece of paper, and on this paper, so on this piece of paper, I've got some numbers, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not 4, not 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, but there is a one that's blank, or I left the circle empty. Can you fill in the circle with that missing number? That's not a trick. Alright, number 4, right? Okay, so I wrote numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, you wrote number 4. So on this practice test, this is also practicing the directed lie. I'm going to ask you every question. You write number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I had you write number 4 because I want you to lie on purpose to number 4. This is kind of practicing that whole directed lie concept. Again, for me, making sure everything's settings are all good to go. So let's just practice verbally. You are going to say no to every question.
Okay.
So regarding that piece of paper, did you write number 1? And you'll say
No.
Did you write number 2?
No.
3?
No.
4?
No.
5?
No.
6?
No.
There you go. So that's going to be the first test we go through. Just again, a practice test. Once we get my settings correct, it also lets us kind of just digest and make sure that everything is good for the test. That if we need to correct anything, we can. So I'm going to come over there. I'm going to hook everything up. Okay. So let me grab these two. Yeah, this we're going to have to make sure that we're going to be good. So this is supposed to go across your stomach like this. So it is important that it is able to be flush. So we'll just see how the jacket goes. So hold with 2 hands on top, rest it against your stomach area. I'm going to lean forward a little bit and then on your back. And then I'm going to have you hand me this in. Can you grab your hair? Can you break it behind you? Okay, so I'm going to pull this across you. So just sit still for a second to see if it's sitting right. Okay. And then this one is the same thing. This is going to go on your upper chest. So you're going to look it like this. So turn your hands on top of it. Turn it this way. Other way. Like that. And you got to hold your upper chest. And this on your armpits. You know, like your hair. Hand this in. And then you grab your hair with it. Okay, so same thing. Gently. Okay, I think we're good. Alright, so these finger clips are going to go on your right hand. They're going to go on your index and ring finger. So just open your hand up this way. Open your index finger. And then I'm going to put the chair sitting kind of high. I'm going to put these 2 pads of paper down. How tall are you?
5, 2.
Try it low enough to put your feet flat on it. Are you able to put your feet? That's high enough, right? You don't need 2, do you? Okay, and then blood pressure cuff here. So this is what. So this needs to go ideally where your left arm. Here, let's pull your jacket down. Okay, so this I'm going to put on your forearm. So go like this. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and pull that up. So we can just kind of do it. I'm going to pump up that cup real quick. I just want to see how it looks, and it's usually meant for the arms and a bigger cup. So just relax for a second. I'm going to pump that cup up. It's going to get pretty tight. So I just want to make sure it's reading right. Okay, so on this practice test, again, every answer is no, including number 4, right? So I had you write number 4, I wrote numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. But for this practice test, you're going to say no to every question, including number 4. The directions on the test will be this. I'll say make sure that you keep your feet flat on the floor, face forward, answer every question with a no. It's nerve-wracking, even a practice test. The biggest thing, just make sure that you don't do anything to artificially try to control yourself. So even if you feel nervous and anxious and got things on you, your job is just to sit there and say no, no, no. All right? All right. You ready? Okay, so I'm going to pump up your cup. It's going to get pretty snug and tight. And then I will deflate it a little bit, but it does stay pumped up. All right, from here on out, just do your best to remain still. Again, face forward. Keep those feet flat on the tablets. For this test, you're going to answer every question with a no, including number 4. So again, you're going to say no to everything. Make sure that you don't do anything to artificially kind of control or manage yourself. Just kind of let your body do its thing, even if you feel nervous and anxious. Make sure you don't try to control yourself. And the test is about to begin. Regarding that piece of paper, did you write the number 1?
No.
Did you write the number 2?
No.
Did you write the number 3?
No.
Did you write the number 4?
No.
Did you write the number 5?
No.
Did you write the number 6?
No.
All right, go ahead and relax. Yeah, great job sitting still. So as long as we've got charts we can score, it helps. I mean, this is a really good chart. You definitely bombed on number 4. Okay, so let's go through the test questions. These will be, again, and if you feel like we should reword them, make sure we cover what you want. Basically, this test is really about intentional sexual interactions with females. And this is stuff that you remember that you know you've engaged in. So, you basically, again, have denied any on purpose. You are not denying maybe it happened, especially that one time you said maybe you were completely high and not in your right state of mind, because specifically that female said you went down on her, meaning mouth on vagina. However, you actually denied specific memory of it, and definitely deny, like, in a right state of mind that you ever would have done that or did do that with anyone. Okay? And then from kissing on the lips on down to, again, however women have sex or attempting to have sex or oral sex, you've denied that's something you've ever really sought out and engaged in, correct? Okay, so one of the questions I'm going to ask is, basically, and this whole test is essentially we're talking about in a clear state of mind. Did you do any of these things? So clear state of mind, and I'll define this a little bit. It doesn't mean that you didn't have a drink or two. It doesn't mean you didn't have, you weren't high on marijuana or something. A clear state of mind, though, is that you had enough mental capacity to know what you were doing after the fact. You knew what you did. That's a clear state of mind for me. It doesn't mean you're perfect, meaning it doesn't mean that, like I said, that you were influenced by something a little bit, but it does mean that you at least were mentally with it enough to know what you were doing. Because that's really what this whole test is about. So, one of the questions is going to be regarding whether or not you had sexual contact with women, or with a woman, while in a clear state of mind. You intend to answer each question truthfully. And you would say, so specifically, sorry, I'm just all dry now. Specifically, you have denied, and I only included this one because this is kind of a main sexual activity, kissing, right? Making out with, kissing on the lips. Like, that's kind of the most basic sexual contact that people would have, and if someone, quote-unquote, is a lesbian or is attracted to women, that's going to be something they do, right? Which you denied you ever did. There's no memory that you have that you ever engaged in, like, kissing on the lips. So do you remember ever kissing a woman on the lips?
No.
Next thing. Fondling, being touched on the private parts. So we're defining the sexual body parts as the breast, the buttocks, the penis, or the vagina. Those will be what we're talking about when I say sexual body parts. Would that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say those are probably, we're not saying other body parts aren't, like, but that's really what we're talking about. So, which again, and I'm going to use the term fondling. It's probably not the best word I like using, but fondling means a sexual matter. Someone is doing it for gratification, rubbing, caressing, like, that's fondling, even sticking fingers in it, like, it's a sexual act, right? It doesn't mean just a hug or something. Like, a fondling is a sexual act. Which, again, you've denied any clear memory that you did that or received that from a woman or with a woman, right? So, with a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts?
No.
Does that make sense? Is that too wordy or messy?
What was it?
I mean, you said it right. I just want to make sure it wasn't too confusing. So, with a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts? And you would say,
No.
right. I just want to make sure that
Are you
we're...
going to include in sexual body parts? Or just
No,
sexual body
it's
parts?
way too long. So that's when I use the term sexual body parts.
Okay.
It's the penis, breast, vagina, or buttocks.
Some people might not know that.
Well, I'm going to put that in the report.
Oh, okay.
So I'll say in the report, when I said sexual body parts, we defined it as the penis, breast, vagina, or buttocks.
Oh.
We're not talking about the leg or the back. We're talking about these sex body parts that are... Does that make sense to you? So I'm going to say it one more time. With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts? And you would say
No.
Similar question with a woman. I'm going to specifically talk about touching the bare vagina. Whether it's, again, it kind of was covered in the other question as well, but this is specifically about the vagina. Mouth of vagina, hands on vagina, rubbing of the vagina, you providing it, or you receiving it. You deny that has ever happened. And I'm going to say bare vagina, right? So we're not talking about over the pants, but we're talking about the bare vaginal vagina. So, with a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember touching or being touched on the bare vagina?
No.
Make sense? Okay, and then the last one, just broadly, just asking if you lied about any of the sexual interactions with women, which again, we've defined this a bunch, we've gone through it a bunch. But again, intentionally, on purpose, in a clear state of mind, you have basically denied this is anything you've ever sought out, anything you've ever pursued, even though you've been very sexually active, you were in a very sexual lifestyle, and even if women were around in threesomes or just in a room with you, your sexual activities were always with men. Make sense? And even if something did happen with a woman, it would have been when you don't even remember it, and you would not have been in your normal state of mind to where you even consciously remember doing that. So, have you intentionally lied today regarding information of your sexual contact with any woman?
No.
So that kind of is the catch-all. And in the report, I'm going to kind of put all that different stuff that we walked through. Okay, so basically, again, our focus, you've never kissed a woman on the lips, made out with, never, again, while in a clear state of mind, you do not remember ever engaging in fondling activities, whether you being fondled or someone else, or you fondling someone else, specifically on the, again, penis, breast, vagina, or buttocks. Those are the central body parts. You also denied, again, intentionally being touched or touching someone's bare vagina. And again, a woman with a woman. And then specifically, you deny that you lied to me about any of this sexual activities with women. Correct? And there are 3 directed lies. So these, again, you're going to lie to these on purpose. You've admitted you've lied to a friend or family, or withheld something from a friend or family member at least once. You've admitted that you know that at least once you lied to an authority figure, or avoided, or withheld something from an authority figure at least once. And you've also denied, I'm going to say outside of sexual things, that you've also done something illegal and got away with it. But on the test, you're going to say no to all of these and lie. So let's practice. I want you to practice lying. Did you ever lie to or withhold something from an authority figure to avoid consequences?
No.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from a friend or family member for fear of how you might look?
No.
And outside of sexual behaviors, did you ever do something illegal and get away with it?
No.
And then truthfully, so tell the truth, is today Wednesday?
Yes.
And is this,
Yes.
yeah, tell the truth, yeah. And is this office in Virginia?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'm going to close this door just to make sure, in case mail is in the office. Okay. So on this test, again, if you remember what I was talking about earlier, we do have to do this several times. So I will do one test. We'll relax for a minute or two, kind of let your arm rest. We'll do it again, and we'll do it again. So after we do several tests, I'm going to go back and look through them and just kind of see where we are. If something is really bothering you on a question, obviously the sexual contact questions, make sure you let me know, hey man, when you ask this question, I'm just struggling with it, I keep thinking about this. I don't think so because we've gone through this pretty in depth, but if there's anything that's really bothering you as we get into the test and you start thinking about stuff, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay? Alright. So, been truthful with me about everything, the way we kind of went through it?
Yes.
Alright. Alright, you ready? Alright, so I'm going to pump up your cup. From here on out, just make sure that you do your best, again, to remain still as you did during that practice test. Again, answer every question as we have reviewed. There's 3 directed lies that we went through. Make sure you lie to those 3, and everything else is the truth. Again, so lie, friends and family. Have you ever lied to authority figures? No. Have you ever done something illegal? No. But everything else is the truth, and the test is about to begin. Is today Wednesday?
Yes.
Make sure you keep breathing, okay? Regarding whether or not you had sexual contact with a woman while in a clear state of mind, you intend to answer each question truthfully.
Yes.
Right, so you intend to be truthful. Did you ever lie to or withhold something from an authority figure to avoid consequences?
No.
Do you remember ever kissing a woman on the lips?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts?
No.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from a friend or family member for fear of how you might look?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever touching or being touched on the bare vagina?
No.
Have you intentionally lied today regarding information of your sexual contact with any woman?
No.
Outside of sexual behaviors, did you ever do something illegal and get away with it?
No.
Relax. All right? Good with the questions? Worried about any of them?
When I get the video copy of the extra questions that are in there,
Yeah, I mean, it's our video of our interview.
of the whole, like, of the
I mean,
whole.
we're recording the whole interview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just want you to remember, really focus on, we are here to clear up the sexual contact questions.
Alright.
Okay? The other questions, yes, I want you to worry about, like, the fact that you've lied, because that's what we're showing, but it's not about the information. Every single person has done these things. Everyone's done something illegal. Everyone's lied to an authority figure. Everyone has lied to a friend or family, right? So don't worry about, I want you to really focus on the fact that if you're being truthful to those sexual contact questions.
Okay.
All right? And to the sexual contact questions, are you truthful on those, right? So no making out, kissing a woman, touching private body parts being touched, no touching the vagina or being touched in the vagina, and really again, outside of anything, maybe when you were not in your right state of mind, no sexual activities with women, outside of anything we discussed. Right. All right, ready? so we're going to do the exact same questions. I'm going to change the order of the questions, but it's the same questions.
Okay.
So just again, 3 directed lies. Make sure you lie to those 3, but then everything else is the truth, especially in regarding sexual activities. All right, I'm going to flip up your cup. All right, from here on out, again, make sure that you do your best to remain still, face forward. Answer every question. Again, as we review, there's 3 directed lies. Everything else is the truth. Again, make sure during the test you don't move around. Make sure you don't do anything to artificially try to manage or control yourself. And the test is about to begin. Is this office in Virginia?
Yes.
Regarding whether or not you had sexual contact with a woman while in a clear state of mind, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Outside of sexual behaviors, did you ever do something illegal and get away with it?
No.
Have you intentionally lied today regarding information of your sexual contact with any woman?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember touching or being touched on the bare vagina?
No.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from an authority figure to avoid consequences?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts?
No.
Do you remember ever kissing a woman on the lips?
No.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from a friend or family member for fear of how you might look? Alright? Good? Alright, again, telling the truth on all the sexual questions? Anything bothering you on the sexual questions, or you're good to go?
Okay.
Alright. Alright, so hang tight. right, you ready? We're gonna do a third one and kind of go from there. To pump up your cup, when we get going, you get snug. Alright, from here on out, again, make sure that you do your best to remain still, face forward, answer every question as we reviewed. Again, 3 directed lies. Everything else is the truth, and the test is about to begin. Is today Wednesday?
Yes.
Regarding whether or not you had sexual contact with a woman while in a clear state of mind, you intend to answer each question truthfully.
Yes.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from an authority figure to avoid consequences?
No.
Do you remember ever kissing a woman on the lips?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember touching or being touched on the bare vagina?
No.
Outside of sexual behaviors, did you ever do something illegal and get away with it?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember ever receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts?
No.
Have you intentionally lied today regarding information of your sexual contact with any woman?
No.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from a friend or family member for fear of how you might look?
No.
Alright, relax. Alright, so hang tight a sec. All right, we're gonna do one more, and we'll see if we're good after that. Same questions.
Okay.
Hopefully, the max we do is 5. So let's just do one more. Make sure it's definitive. All right, you ready? From here on out, again, make sure that you do your best. Best to remain still. Again, face forward. Answer every question as we reviewed. Again, 3 directed lies, so same as before. 3 directed lies. Make sure you lie to those 3. Everything else is the truth, and the test is about to begin. Is today Wednesday?
Yes.
Regarding whether or not you had sexual contact with a woman while in a clear state of mind, do you intend to answer this question truthfully?
Yes.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from an authority figure to avoid consequences?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember receiving or providing fondling of the identified sexual body parts?
No.
With a woman in a clear state of mind, do you remember touching or being touched on the bare vagina?
No.
Did you ever lie to or withhold something from a friend or family member for fear of how you might look?
No.
Do you remember ever kissing a woman on the lips?
No.
Have you intentionally lied today regarding information of sexual acting or sexual contact with any woman?
No.
Outside of sexual behavior, did you ever do something illegal and get away with it?
No.
All right, I think we're good. How'd you feel? Any concern on the sexual contact questions?
No.
All right, so never kiss a woman?
No.
Like made out with kiss or anything like that, correct?
Right.
Again, in a clear state of mind, never engage in the touching of or being touched on penis, breast, vagina, buttocks, like no fondling activities, nothing like that.
No.
Never engaged in the touching, being touched on the vagina, whether it's oral sex, fondling,
No.
rubbing, naked with, rubbing, nothing like that
No.
with a woman.
No.
And then as a whole, everything we went through, again, basically you denied like this whole idea that when you're in the normal state of mind, that you ever have been someone who seeks out women, not attracted to women, have not engaged in sexual touching with women, you know, intentionally on purpose. It's just not something, like, again, with all your sexual activities, it's always been male driven.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I think everything was fine. I'd say pass. All right? So, yeah, so I've got time, I think. I should be able to write up a report right now and get in pretty quick. It's just going to kind of walk through a little bit what we went through. It's not real in depth, but it's going to kind of go through those sexual contact touching questions and just kind of, again, and include the questions we went through. I'll specify when I said sexual body parts, you know, it's penis, breast, vagina, buttocks. But just kind of go through your denial of that stuff. And then it's got those relevant questions. All right? So I'm going to have you grab a seat out there. When I'm done typing it, I'll just have you glance through it, make sure you're good with it, I'm not missing something.